Hi, my name is Pastor Hal York, and welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Today we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 15, verse 15. All the days of the afflicted are bad, but a cheerful heart is a continual feast. Another version says, all the days of the afflicted are miserable, but goodness of heart is a continual feast. There's two phrases that catch my attention in this verse. All the days and a continual feast. Not some of the days or a few days, not once a week feast or a once a month banquet. All the days and a continual feast. Now the writer here is not talking about one group of people, but two. Those who are afflicted and those with a cheerful heart. And I think the best way to come at this verse may be to see two different ways of dealing with affliction. Take the first part as horizontal, or a fleshly way of experiencing troubles and afflictions. All the days are miserable. The second part of the verse is looking at our troubles from a heavenly or a spiritual perspective. A cheerful heart has a continual feast. It says back in verse 13 of chapter 15 that a merry heart makes a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of heart the spirit is broken. When we go through the waters of affliction, the attitudes of our heart matter a great deal. Whatever affliction we may be facing, seen through the carnal or earthbound eyes, can be devastating, hopeless. There seems to be no answers to our affliction. Doctors and counselors may try to help, but they can't change our circumstances. They seem to have little to add that will alleviate the misery, the despair. Life is filled with afflictions, big ones, small ones. And when we treat them all the same, it seems like all our days are miserable, because most, if not all, our days have some sort of affliction, problem, or setback. It may be tiny, it may be huge. But with the one with the eyes only focused inward, with no thought of God, just zeroing in on the affliction, desiring to be happy, but think joy and happiness can only be experienced if the affliction is taken away. The affliction in their mind serves no purpose but to bring pain and to make us miserable. Therefore, all the days of the afflicted are bad or miserable. Proverbs says in chapter 13, verse 12, that hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life. May I suggest that the person in the second part of the verse is not a person without affliction, but rather a person with a vertical or God-centered focus in the affliction. But a cheerful heart has a continual feast. Can we feast in the midst of affliction? Can we have joy in the midst of affliction? We can if we understand a few things. God is sovereign over our affliction. God has a purpose for our affliction. God will determine how long our affliction lasts. God will give us the strength through His Spirit to find joy, not because of the affliction, but joy in Christ as we walk through the affliction. Affliction is not God's disapproval of us, but rather His loving work in us as He conforms us into the image of Christ. The difference in these two people is not their circumstances, but the condition and focus of the heart, the focus of their lives. Who or what are they living for? If the aim of your life is to be happy and successful and get all you can get out of this life for yourself, affliction will always come as a thief, as an enemy, with no reprieve. All the days are miserable. Such a view will bury you in despair as you desperately pray for God to take away the affliction or seek to find ways to alleviate the affliction yourself. Because in your mind, the affliction is the barrier between you, your misery, and the happiness that lies on the other side of the fence. You know, that green side where all the happy people live. That's a delusion that will rob you of joy all your days and keep you buried in misery all your days. And you know why? Because if you were living right now with no afflictions, you would still be miserable because you're looking to find joy in the wrong place. You think joy is found in the absence of affliction, and is not. Joy is found in walking with Christ. He's the one that gives us joy. He's the one that cheers the heart. Not a problem-free life, but a Christ-centered life. And so Proverbs says that a cheerful heart has a continual feast, even in the midst of affliction. James 2-4, consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience, and let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. And when we say joy in the midst of trials. It doesn't mean we don't feel the pain. It doesn't mean we don't experience pain, that we're sticking our head in our sand and pretending it doesn't hurt. Not at all. But we're saying that it's the condition of the heart that gives us the strength to go on, to keep our focus on Christ, and that He's the Lord of our life, and He's working in us both to will and to do of His good pleasure. And what's going on in our lives is not a mistake or an accident. It's God working in us to conform us and change us. A cheerful heart is focused on Christ, is living for the glory of God, and is walking with Him, knowing that God is working through the affliction for a glorious purpose. Our lives are in His hands, and when we understand that, a cheerful heart understands what Paul says in 2 Corinthians 4:16. Listen to these very familiar words. Therefore, we do not lose heart. That's the second time he said that in that chapter. Therefore, we do not lose heart. But though our outer man is decaying, yet our inner man is being renewed day by day. For momentary light affliction is producing for us an eternal weight of glory far beyond all comparison. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. That is the battle we see going on in our verse. All the days of the afflicted are bad because they keep looking at the temporal things, the earthly things. But a cheerful heart has a continual feast. Why? Because they're looking at the things which are not seen. The things which are not seen are eternal. And our joy and our cheerfulness and happiness in this life are not found in the circumstances of our life or the things of this life. They're not found in the creation. They're found in the Creator, Jesus Christ. So may this truth guide us and guard us in the trenches of life as we seek to live our lives for the glory of God and the good of others. May God bless.